Remote in the desert of Araby lies the Nameless City, crumbling and inarticulate, its low walls nearly hidden by the sands of uncounted ages. It must have been thus before the first stones of Memphis were laid and while the bricks of Babylon were yet unbaked. There is no legend so old as to give it a name or to recall that it was ever alive, but it is told of in whispers around campfires and muttered about by grandams in the tents of sheiks, so that all the tribes shun it without wholly knowing why. It was of this place that Abdul al-Hazred, the mad poet, dreamed on the night before he sang his unexplained couplet. That is not dead which can eternal lie, and with strange aeons even death may die.
When I came upon the nameless city, in the ghastly stillness of unending sleep, it looked at me, chilly, from the rays of a...
Inspired by the short story of the same name by H.P. Lovecraft, The Nameless City is a small puzzle-adventure game created by Paradnight Studio and was released February 2024. For anyone looking for a playthrough or a detailed comparison to the story, sorry to disappoint. This is a small and short video, at least shorter than my two previous videos, as I just want to highlight the game and get you to play it. That means I'll keep the plot summary brief and spoilers to a minimum. It's a relatively short game, taking about an hour to complete at a regular pace, but it's an intense experience that leaves you unnerved. I don't want to spoil too much in this video, the game is worth checking out, and the link is in the description in case your interest is piqued at any time during this video. Personally, I hadn't read the short story this was based on before playing the game, so I went in almost completely blind, only carrying with me the assumptions I have about all H.P. Lovecraft stories, as in it will end poorly for the protagonist and madness will be induced. In fact, my primary source of Lovecraft comes from the tabletop role-playing game Call of Cthulhu. Luckily, the story is easily accessible online for anyone who wishes to whet their appetite. Inspired by is the key phrase here, as they've had to take some liberties with the story in order to gamify the plot, making it more than just a walking simulator, even if just barely. What they didn't get from Lovecraft himself, they took from Eternal Darkness, in particular the glyph system, which made up the bulk of that game's magic. This is something they are quite open about, so don't think I'm casting shade here. It works great even if the use is limited, which really is my one complaint about this game, the fact that the magic system isn't used more. I would have loved a more puzzly aspect to it, having to figure out the system on your own, but instead it becomes a little bit tedious at times, especially towards the end when you just cast the same spell or incantation over and over again. I realize there's only so much you can do on a small budget, the passion of a few people, and an hour of gameplay, but I did enjoy the game the most when I felt the puzzle aspects played a more integral part. Of course, in a further developed game based on the same concept, I'd expected to play a much larger part, but it still left me a little bit disappointed. Play it from a first-person perspective, you explore the titular Nameless City and delve deep into its secrets, contemplating its origin and the original inhabitants. The more traditional game aspects of the game come in the form of environmental puzzles and utilizing the glyphs to manipulate barriers or lighting your way forward. The rest of the game fits pretty solidly into the walking simulator genre as you walk, read, and contemplate what you are seeing. And every so often the protagonist makes himself known by voicing his thoughts out loud, sometimes for flavor, sometimes to give you a clearer idea of what to do next.
I shall go back to the camp. My head is hurting again.
All of this is displayed in glorious retro-futuristic, to steal a phrase I hope isn't trademarked, PlayStation 1 graphics that do an incredible job at creating a dark and oppressive atmosphere where intended, but a beautiful and alluring landscape when more open. The dark, low passages really do feel like they harbor an untold number of horrors just waiting to pounce on you. And when the game does open up more, it's beautiful, and the opening walk was mesmerizing, making me stop and look in awe. Recent games like Lunacid and upcoming games like Dread Illusions, together with this game, really are taking the PSX graphics to the limit of what they can achieve, and I'm all here for it, excited to see what these designers will do next. Coupled with the graphics is a soundscape that is equal parts quiet ambiance and alien cacophony. It rarely tries to scare you outright by startling you, instead happy to sit back and run its creepy fingers along your spine, making your skin crawl as the music, noises, and graphics needle your brain and make you paranoid. I've always been drawn to ideas like this, long contemplating the concept of an archaeology game either set in space or, like here, in some ancient city that defies our expectations, where you make assumptions to progress, fitting all the pieces together. While this doesn't quite go in that direction, the tantalizing slivers of background lore it offers makes me ache for an expanded version of this game where I did get to go into the many teased locations seen in the distance. Don't get me wrong, the game is perfect the way it is. Its narrative neatly fits into the hour of gameplay there is and not tortuously drawn out and padded. But the concept itself is worthy of expansion, in my opinion, and even if it's not Paradnight Studio themselves, I do hope someone looks at this and thinks, yeah, I can do this too. I really like the Nameless City. Ever since playing the demo on stream, I knew it was something I would enjoy and it did not disappoint. In my opinion, it really did capture the essence of what makes Lovecraft's stories so timeless, and I'm always up for an adaptation of his less marketed writing. It looks beautiful, it sounds great, and despite playing it in the middle of the day, it gave me real chills. It's available on itch.io and I highly recommend checking it out. At least play the demo. Personally, I can't wait to see what Paradnight Studio comes up with next. All of this is displayed in glorious retro. What the fuck? I want to save that one.